The moment I heard Amazon was adapting Like a Dragon, I was hyped. I'm talking borderline obsessed with how this could play out, until I read one article. And just like that, all that excitement turned to dread. That familiar pit in my stomach started forming, the one you get when you realize something you love might be about to get really messed up. This isn't exactly new territory though, right? It feels like bad adaptations are almost more common than good ones these days. Whether it's books, games, or even beloved anime, getting adaptations right seems like finding a unicorn. And yeah, I could sit here like everyone else on YouTube and rage about why X or Y adaptation completely missed the mark, but I don't want this to just be a vent session. Instead, let's break it down. I want to figure out why this keeps happening. Where do non-fan creators keep going wrong? And more importantly, what can be done to avoid these same mistakes over and over again? I've got some thoughts, real solutions, that I think could make a difference. And if you want to make a positive difference to this channel, don't forget to press the like button. Alright, housekeeping over, let's dig into the meat of this. First up, missing the core essence of the story. Non-fans can sometimes completely whiff the magic that made the original work so damn great. It's like getting the ingredients for a cake but forgetting to bake it, and instead, you're just left with a pile of flour and eggs. This leads to shallow interpretations, or even worse, decisions that alienate the original fan base. So the solution? Get someone who actually loves the story involved. It's like bringing in that friend who knows all the trivia, the deep cuts, the lore. Yeah, they might be annoying sometimes, but they'll make sure you stay on track. Seriously though, involve consultants or advisors who are super familiar with the source material. Balance is key. Keep the core intact while making it accessible to new folks. Next, we've got character misinterpretation, which is like turning your favorite hero into a completely different person. Imagine Superman deciding, saving people is overrated, and instead, he's just chilling at Starbucks all day. Non-fans sometimes miss what motivates characters or try to modernize them in ways that make no sense. Solution? Dive deep into the character arcs. Study what makes them tick. Don't just look at their powers, clothes, or quirky one-liners. Keep the heart of the character and, sure, give them a fresh coat of paint if needed. But don't forget the soul. It's like updating your phone's OS without breaking it. Keep what works. Now, we've all seen this one before. Overemphasis on spectacle. Boom! Explosions everywhere. CGI that can melt your face off. But where's the story? Non-fans sometimes go all in on the action and effects, but forget why people cared about the narrative in the first place. It's the equivalent of watching fireworks for 3 hours but having no idea what's being celebrated. Solution? Don't let spectacle hijack the show. Use all the fancy visual stuffs to enhance the story, not replace it. Remember, depth and emotional stakes are what keeps people invested, not just shiny explosions. If the original material had a slower pace or was more focused on character, don't throw that out just to add a big old fight scene. Next up, one of the big cardinal sins, straying too far from the source material. Non-fans sometimes think they know better and end up making big changes, so big that it feels like a completely different story with the same character name slapped on it. The result? Fan rage, and not the good kind. So, the solution? Well, adaptations will never be one-to-one copies. That's fine. But the changes should serve the story, not some arbitrary whim. Work closely with fans, or, better yet, the original creator to make sure you're making changes that enhance the story rather than completely rewrite it. Next up, let's touch on world building. This is where things can go really wrong if non-fans aren't paying attention. Some universes are intricate, with rules and details that make them unique. When those get tossed aside, everything can fall apart faster than a Jenga tower. So the solution? Simple. Do your homework. Seriously, get detailed world building guides, consult the lore keepers, and stay consistent. The little things matter. If you forget the rules of the world, trust me, the fans will call you out on it, and not kindly. A well-built world is the backbone of any adaptation, so don't break it. Another common pitfall is focusing too much on new audience. It's the whole, let's make this mainstream mentality that strips away the uniqueness of the original. And before you know it, You've turned a cult classic into something bland and forgettable. So, what's the solution? Well, here's the thought. Instead of watering down the content, why not trust what made the original story great in the first place? There's always a way to introduce new audiences without alienating long-term fans. Build bridges, don't burn them. It's not about making everyone happy. It's about making the right people happy. And for the next one, which, oh boy, it's a killer. Tone discrepancies. Imagine turning a fun, lighthearted adventure into something dark, brooding, and edgy because, I don't know, that's what's trending. That kind of tonal shift can sometimes be a slap in the face for fans. The solution is simple. Keep the tone consistent. Sure, you can modernize things, but remember where the story started. If you're going to shift the tone, do it gradually and with purpose. Don't just make it dark and gritty for the sake of it. Let the story's mood evolve naturally. Keep it real, or surreal, depending on what we're working with. Next up, over-reliance on fan service. This is when non-fans go, hey, we threw in a ton of Easter eggs and callbacks, so that should make the fans happy, right? Wrong. That kind of fan service often feels forced and empty. It's like feeding someone whipped cream for dinner. Sweet at first, but ultimately unsatisfying. Fan service should be like a well-timed punchline, rewarding and meaningful. Don't make it the whole story. Include callbacks and references if they feel natural, but don't use them as a crutch. It's about telling a good story first. Everything else is a bonus. Finally, the classic mistake, underestimating fan knowledge. You know, non-fans sometimes think they can tweak or change things and no one will notice. But let me tell you something. Fans notice everything. These people have read the original 15 times, seen every interview, and know obscure lore like it's their job. Treat the fan base with respect. Acknowledge their knowledge and passion. Heck, bring them into the process. Previews, fan screenings, discussions. Engage with them and get feedback. They'll help you steer away from the big no-nos. Now, I'm not saying fans are always perfect. I have all kinds of other things I can say there, and if you're interested in hearing that, tell me in the comments. But still, I think all of this can help avoid all the issue with fan adaptations. What do you think? Give me your thoughts in the comments and let's get a discussion going.